Hey guys, Philip Good here. I am an unconditional love coach and a relationship healer. This video is number 13, which will include chapter 13 of my book, Ignited by the Bottle, Delivered by the Fist. This is a book that I'm doing a series of videos, and the content will be transcribed, edited, and transcribed into a book form. Okay, so the title of this chapter is Incident leading up to the birth of our first child. Her name was Rebecca, and she was born on the 2nd of December, 1977. If you recall from the previous video, Eileen and I were married on the 7th of the 5th of May, 1977. And our daughter was born, our first child was born, our daughter, at the end of the year. However, sorry, excuse me, but our contract milking contract started on the 1st of June, 1977. So we started that contract. My brother, a year younger than me, he actually joined us as well. And so he and I were both working on the farm, milking the cows and doing all the farm work type thing. And of course, Eileen was pregnant. So it got up to within about 2 months of Eileen having Rebecca, our baby, our first baby, and she developed toxemia. All right. So she started getting swelling and protein in the urine, all sorts of things, which are highly dangerous to somebody who is pregnant. And so she was sent down to National Women's Hospital. This is in New Zealand, and National Women's Hospital was in Auckland, New Zealand. And where we farmed at Wellsford is about an hour north of Auckland. So I only had to go and stay in as an inpatient in National Women's Hospital for almost 2 months before she finally had Rebecca. Unfortunately, I had to stay and milk cows. I couldn't get away. I couldn't go with her. And in actual fact, I only had really, through our contract, I only had 1 weekend off a month. So I did go down there a couple of extra times, usually on weekends, and that's it. But there was somebody milk the cows for me to be in partnership with my brother, and because it was quite a big job for for us where we were, and we had the responsibility. We had to sign contracts. We are contracted rather than sort of like employed, but on a contract basis. So we had extra responsibilities other than somebody that was just a worker, I guess. So I only went down to National Women's Hospital. So it would have been 2 months before, so around about October, early October. And at that stage, we just sort of finished calving on the farm, on the dairy farm. We're about to start mating our cows, eliminating our cows, and so on. So it's quite a busy, hectic sort of period. Calves were being weaned, and so on, and so on. It's all dairy farm and jargon that you probably don't understand anyway. But I'm just telling you the sequence of events. Okay. I was down at National Women's Hospital and getting the care that she needed, and it was hard for me because I couldn't be there with Eileen to support her. So it was that was terrible. So all I had was I had to phone her. Back in those days, we didn't have a mobile phone, so we just used landline, right? And it was put through to her room at the hospital, so I could chat to her and stuff. But anyway, about towards the end of November, probably about, I don't know, week, 10 days from the end of November, which is getting close to the birth date of the 2nd of December, on a weekend, about, like I say, a week, 10 days before Rebecca was born, my parents, who lived in Auckland, on the North Shore of Auckland, said, "Oh, look, we'll come and pick Eileen up and bring her over to our place to give her a weekend, out of hospital and stuff." She still had the medication she had to take. The hospital said it was okay for her to go over there for all that for that, I don't know what she was there. I think it was maybe not a full weekend, maybe only a day, and, and she'd be back in the evening. And, anyway, she was picked up and, spent the day there and stuff, like a day outing type thing, and and then when it came to, in the evening when she was supposed to go back to National Women's Hospital, my father, was not in the house because he had the only car, you see. He'd gone down to the RSA, or the RSL, Returned Servicemen's Association New Zealand, Returned Servicemen's League here in Australia, the RSL, the RSA in New Zealand. So that's where he was with his mates, drinking alcohol, drinking beer and whatever else with all his mates and that down there. So, he knew he had to take, Eileen back to hospital, in the evening, but, it started to get a bit late, and my mother said, was worried, and, said to Eileen, "Well, I've got to somehow get hold of Jack," and so on, and, so anyway, she rang the RSA and, left a message there, but still there was no reply from my father. So my mother dressed up my two sisters, my two younger sisters, with the only two that were home at that stage. Everybody else, all us boys, four boys, had left home. So my sisters at that point were aged 13 and 10. So my mother dressed them up in their dressing pajamas and dressing gowns, and my mother walked down. It was only about, I suppose, about, oh, 400 or 500 meters, I suppose, down to the RSA. And so my mother decided she'd walk down there. And I'm not sure whether my mother had a um, nightie and dressing gown on or whether she was fully dressed, but certainly my two sisters were in their PJs and dressing gown. So they marched down there, knocked on the door of the RSA and said, "I want to speak to Jack, please." Jack could. And it's very, very important, because my daughter-in-law has to go back to National Women's Hospital, and it's getting late now, and she's overdue even now. So, the message was related to my father, and he came out, and it was right off the top of his head. And what he said to my mother was, "Never fucking will embarrass me in front of my friends again." That's what he said to my mother and my two sisters, his two daughters. And so he said, "Right, I'll come home," and he was in obviously bad mood and be drinking grog, so it made him way, way worse anyway. So he would have been an absolute asshole. And so I'm not sure whether my mother and the two girls went back in the car with him or whether they walked back and he ended up coming afterwards. I'm not sure about those details. Anyway, he arrived back at home, and mum and the two girls were there, and Eileen was there, of course, waiting for her to go back to National Women's. And my father marched into the house and he said, "Go and get your fucking bag." This is what he said to Eileen. "Go and get your fucking bag and get your CUNT out to the car." And when he was saying it, he came right up to Eileen's nose in a really threatening manner, like as if he was going to hit her type thing. And Eileen said, "If you touch me, Phil will literally kill you. He'll tear you apart, mate." And so that's when the old man said, "Get your CUNT and your bag in the car now." So apparently on the trip over, it was only Eileen and my father in the car, and he was ranting and raving, and she said, "Oh, you're," Eileen said to him, "You're a big man when it comes to women, aren't you? But you got no guts, got no backbone when it comes to facing your son, because you know that he'll beat the living daylights out of you or kill you in a heartbeat if you touch me, if you touch me at all. And he'll be horrified the way you treated me as well." So anyway, Eileen got back to the hospital. She rang me and sort of told me what had gone on, and I was just it was just beyond words for me. I just couldn't believe it, you know. Couldn't believe that my father, my old man, could be so rotten to my wife, and she was but she's 9 months pregnant, about to give birth to our first baby. It would have been the first grandchild in the family. So anyway, as a result of the stress that I went through with this incident, the hospital decided to induce her because she was under so much stress and was putting stress on the baby inside the womb. So I was given an injection, and I was notified of that, of course, and so I had a predetermined time when I would give birth. So I came down. So I came down to Auckland so I could be with her. And on the way over, I just called into my parents, ready up to see my father, just to see my mother. And the old man was there, and he said, "Oh, sorry." He said to me, so, before I could say anything, he said, "Sorry, I was an absolute bastard to your wife. I'm sorry." But you know what? He never he never ever apologized to Eileen, ever. I tell you, it took me all my might to stop beating the crap out of him, because that's all I felt like doing. But if I had started, I wouldn't have finished. This time I would have finished the job I didn't finish when I was 17. 24, 7 years later, I would have finished the job. I mean, I was so angry. I was beside myself angry. But I had to keep it together for Eileen as well. And she was giving birth to our baby, of course. So she gave birth to Rebecca. You know, I was there at the time. And and that was fine. So I had to go back to the farm and that, and then all of a sudden, Eileen rang to say, "Oh, there's a bit of a issue going on with Rebecca. She's actually in an incubator in ICU." And the doctors came to the conclusion that one of the nurses must have had a cold sore and kissed Rebecca. As a result, she got a virus, and it affected her body around her bottom area, and all of the below area affected her there. So they actually had her in almost like a dish. When I came down, and I would have seen him before in the incubator, of course, in the ICU unit. But when I came down, I think it was the next day, as soon as I found out she was in ICU, I raced down, and they put a cap on you, they give you a gown, a mask, and you go into ICU. And as I was walking in the ICU there, it's quite distressing in a sense, because you see all the little babies, all the real prem little babies. They're only about the size of a pound of butter. And you see the two parents lovingly sitting around the incubator watching it, looking at the little baby. And when they're that little, they sort of don't even look human. Looks like it could be an alien. And there's Rebecca, full term in an incubator, in a little dish in an incubator. It was so so upsetting, Eileen having to go through that after being through what my old man had put her through. It was devastating. But she had to be in there. She's probably in there in the incubator and that for and back still stayed in hospital for about a week. They had to put cream on her antiseptic cream and all the rest of it. And then she finally got out of the incubator and I only had her back in the room in the hospital. And I was finally, probably after a week, 8, 9 days, able to go down and pick them up, maybe 10 days, pick them up, bring them home. My mother and father never went to the hospital once to see Eileen and the baby. So when we got back home, Rebecca just went from strength to strength, improved. She was a little bit upset as a baby, as a newborn. We got her home because she'd been through so much in the hospital, and she must have had a lot of. It must have been painful for her down below and that sort of thing. But she improved and from good to great in that. And Eileen was the best mum you could ever have. She was doting mum. She just was absolutely brilliant. I always knew she would be. So yeah, so that was a hard thing for both Eileen and I to endure, but we got through it. Our love for each other and our little baby got us through. But no thanks to my father at all. He was just excuse the French, but he was just a fucking asshole. I tell you what, I forgave both my mum and dad 7 years ago when I was 65. It took me all those years to forgive both particularly my father, but also my mother as well, for different reasons. Yeah, so anyway, it's not a very good depiction, but it was our reality at the time, and but we went on from strength to strength, and so did our baby, and so, but no thanks to my parents, that's for sure, particularly my father. Anyway, onwards and upwards. I'll leave you with that, guys. I love you and leave you. Blessings, love, and light to you all. If you need any help with your relationship at all, as I said, I'm a relationship healer, an unconditional love coach. And I think one video I've just done, why is unconditional love so important in your relationship? It is it is everything. Because unconditional love is all there is. But I can help you with your relationship, guys. If you've got any issues or problems, I can help you overcome them. Like my wife and I had 48 and a half years, nearly 49 years of getting over all the issues that we endured through our childhoods and teenage years and so on. So, and created something a whole lot better in our own relationship, something we're really, really proud of. And in a sense, and I thought about this long and hard, but all we went through, the hardships, the violence, the volatile childhoods we experienced, both my wife and I, in a sense, for me anyway, I thank my parents. I thank my parents for the violence and all the volatility we grew up in, for the lack of love for my father. Because guess what? If I had not experienced all that, I wouldn't have tried so hard to change my life, and change I have. And so has my wife, Eileen. Change for the better. I wouldn't have tried so hard, but I was desperate, as Eileen was, to have a better quality of relationship for she and I, as husband and wife, to be a better mum and dad to our children than our parents were, and to enjoy our children, to enjoy each other as husband and wife. And we succeeded. So for us, that's an absolute blessing. So blessings of light to all you guys. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Love you all. Unconditionally love you all as an unconditional love coach. If you want any help with your own relationship, go to my Facebook page and direct message me on Messenger, and I'll be only too pleased to help you. And on my YouTube site as well, I'll have my email address where you can email me if you wish as well. Okay? Have a lovely day. Have a great day. Love you all. Bye for now.